Hello, today we're going to talk about how to set up and run a very simple Java program, and essentially we're going to talk about what is the main method in your program and just how to get your program up and running. So let's go ahead. So we have this blank file here now, and as you can see I've named it test.java. So for this to compile before you run it, you want to make sure that you create a class that matches the exact name of the file name, the Java file. So you can go ahead and do that, create a class. Just a default way to start is to make it a public class, and then go ahead and name it what you're going to name it. And then you need these brackets, and in between these brackets is where you're going to write this program. So then, to be able to actually run this program, you're going to need a main method. And essentially, a main method is not always present in every program that you're going to see, but it's essential to be able to actually have a program that's really running something or making something happen. So the main method is what makes that thing happen. So let's go ahead and write that. And the main method is always public. It's always static. We'll get into static later. It's always void. Void means essentially that it's not returning anything. It's just doing something internal to the system, and that's exactly what we're doing. You know, if we want to have a program that just prints something to the command line, that's just doing an action. It's affecting the system. It's not necessarily returning anything in particular, like a string or an integer or whatever it might be. So public static void main is the name, and then your main method is always going to take in an array of arguments. Now this gets a little different, or a little more complicated later on. You're not going to need to really understand it for this simple program, but essentially this array here of arguments is what you can eventually give to the program. The user can provide one or more arguments to this main method for it to be able to run. And that's an array because there can be one argument, there can be 0, there can be 10 of them, as many as you want. So, yeah, again, we'll get to that later, but say you wanted to provide arguments to your program from the command line instead of just hard coding them into your program, that's how you do it, and that's what this args means. So here's this main method. Okay, and we can go ahead and trim this down because this will be a short program. So this is pretty much the simplest program you could ever write in Java. We want to make something actually happen here so that we can, show you that something's going on. So an easy way to do that is just to print something to the command line. So again, because you have this main method, the main method is what runs. It's what makes the program happen. That's how if you don't have a main method, you can't. This run button here won't do what you want it to do. So let's go ahead and print something to the command line so that we can show that this program is in fact working and doing something. So and this is you're going to start seeing this very often. It's just System.out.println is how you print a given something to the command line. There's some variations on it. For instance, you could just write .out.print, and what that'll do is if you want to have the ln, what the ln does is it prints whatever you're trying to print on different lines. It gives it its own unique line. So if you wanted to write more than one word and you wrote ln, and those different words, it would print them each on separate lines. Versus if you're just writing print, it'll print it kind of all together, all continuously, without separating them by line. So let's write something. this is a string here. Strings are always surrounded by two quotes, and this is essentially how you print a string. So let's go ahead and save this, compile it, and run it here. And there it goes. It shows up in the console. And later on, if you're trying to run a program directly from your command line, whatever you're printing will show up directly in the command prompt. So that's a very simple, pretty much the most simple program you could ever write out there. We talked about main methods, why they're necessary to run a program. Print line prints a string. It can also print an integer or a lot of other things. But the important part here is to know that you will need a main method to have a program that is doing something, that is running. And don't forget to name your class the same thing you've named your file, or else it won't compile. And that's it. Thank you.